Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanet Kunze. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello and welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanet and I'm your host. Today my guest is Sybil Henry. She is a CEO Stylist, Personal Brand Stylist, and fashion designer. So welcome to my show.
Thank you, Swanet. I'm thrilled to be here today.
We had a little bit of a conversation before, and I know that my audience will be inspired by what you have to share today. So let us know a little bit about who you are and who you became the person you are right now.
Oh, now that's a big question.
Yeah.
Well, as you mentioned, I am a personal brand stylist, and my journey started in my career as a fashion designer. I've been, since a little girl, all my earliest memories were playing with dolls and changing their clothes into different outfits. And, that progressively moved on through the point where I ended up becoming trained as a designer and spent, I'd say, probably the first half of my career doing that, transitioning from that to being a stylist. When I was a fashion designer, I had the most amazing experiences through my corporate career. And then I felt like the styling part of my career and my life is probably the fullest expression of me as a woman, as a person. And certainly that entrepreneurial journey is like a beautiful self-development process. And but I did feel a calling to serve at that time when I started women entrepreneurs. It's been about 12 years now. And the deepening and growing of blending fashion design and fashion styling or personal brand styling, and the journey of being an entrepreneur with all of the things that delight us and challenge us has grown me as a person as well. It's been phenomenal. All of it.
Yeah, and I had a fantastic experience with you as well, which means that our first contact was without being on video. You just wanted to hear what I have to say without getting a picture of me, but just telling you, what I do, who I am, what I'm passionate about, and from there start creating. So why are you doing that?
Well, that's a great question because it throws people off. They're like, what? We're going to start styling and you're going to start styling me on the phone? And that was a very intentional strategy on helping for not only the person to be able to share what's most authentic, which comes from their inner self, but it allows me to get to know them. I get the privilege and the honor of being invited into someone's inner world. And I found that when I remove myself from that first part of the process, and the process unfolds several parts, and that's just the first part in starting, it helps establish a foundation where just the trust builds faster and they can go deeper because it's simply the act of speaking and listening. And that's truly been one of the greatest gifts of the process for both of us. And from there, they are ready. And I find that that's a foundational part that helps prepare them, because no one ever thinks like, oh, I'm going to hire a stylist, Isn't that isn't that kind of fancy for, the wealthy, the slim, the famous, but for entrepreneurs, it's a secret weapon.
Yeah. And what is the secret weapon? Like, I have an idea that if you are really in your true authentic self and express who you are, that with that comes also a certain kind of styling or clothes you wear. But what is the secret behind?
Well, what makes it the secret is that everyone wants to feel exactly what you say, comfortable in their skin, just representing themselves for who they know themselves to be, representing themselves as the expert they are, feeling just comfortable, confident, and proud when they represent their business and themselves. And what styling, the reason why styling, personal brand styling, there are a variety of different types of styling, but personal brand styling specifically helps to go into the inner self and really explore all the parts of who you really are. And I'm speaking about your values, your personality, not just the vision of where you want to take your business, but who do you want to be on the journey of going where you're going next. And so it's truly an inner journey that it starts on the inner and then it moves to the outer. And when the inner and outer are fully aligned and can be expressed authentically and accurately, there's a shift that happens for the person and they feel powerful. They are stepping into another energetic level of who they are. And it's one of my favorite, most beautiful experiences to witness. I can literally see the unfolding of it. And then magic starts to happen for them because, you know, there's a frequency of energy, and energetically, when you are walking in the world, apologetic energy, even if it's, you know, it's all silently, or any kind of shame that you're carrying, trying to hide, it doesn't allow you to be at your highest attraction zone. And so you're missing opportunities and you're in your head versus being in the moment and fully present. So that's why I call it a secret weapon, because it is a game changer and an evolution of where you're going.
I'm totally getting that. And looking back, I have been a business consultant wearing these black suits and jackets, and like you can imagine how a business consultant looks like. And then I left this world and I went more in the spiritual world, and I had this kind of long dresses, a little bit woo-woo and a lot of jewelry. And then it was like, okay, I'm looking different. I'm expressing myself different. And now I'm in the next stage, like bringing like science and spirituality and business together. And I'm still on the move to figure out what the next style will be. And I'm sure you are going to help me with that. Yes. But it's like, yeah, finding my style and expressing when I'm in this resonance. And I've been on an amazing event the last week where I really felt like, okay, there are some clothes I'm wearing when I'm in this high energy, when I feel comfortable and I can express myself as I am, not thinking about, oh, is this skirt too short, or is this really fitting well, but just being there. And then I had another dress and I felt like, oh, this is a little bit, I would say not long enough, but kind of, okay, I had to figure out when I sit down that I move it a little bit so that nobody could look under. And I was thinking about this skirt and not being really there in this present moment. And definitely my energy was different when I was speaking with people, because I was always thinking, okay, how do I sit right? And like, you know, moving around. And I think that really finding something that is, yeah, resonating with my inner self, and then being able to express this in the outside with however the style looks like and what kind of dresses I wear is super important when I'm out in these kind of events or on a show, on a podcast. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs will have the same question as well. How can I find something that is, where I look beautiful, where I feel myself like being really expressed, what I can express for myself, and yeah, how can I find this? How is the way? What can I do? So what can I do?
Yes, and you know, you all of it, you what you just shared is the way it presents, you know, the distractions, and you're missing opportunities, right? When that happens, you're missing opportunities of not just engagement in front of you, but also what's around you, and connection, and And so the process of connection starts internal first with ourselves, and then it moves outward in the connection of the inner outer, and then with other people. But it must start with us. And, when you were talking about being expressed, what it sparked in me is that everyone wants to express something in their lives. And even apart from personal brand style, you want to express your opinions, your voice, your perspective, your philosophy. There's expression in so many ways in this life. And so imagine the feeling when you the pain when you feel like you can't express, and even worse, if you want to express, but you don't know how. It's frustrating. And so that's what I find by the time people come to me, they know that there's something off, but they just don't know what it is. And they want to understand. And it's really a deep dive into understanding the self. And the vehicle just happens to be the clothing. But I lead with fashion styling or personal brand styling because that's what people understand. And they can say, okay, mostly understand, not fully, but mostly. But it's really yet one other strategy of business success that I believe is the number one most overlooked piece of it.
I would like to understand a little bit more, especially as a woman. We always have these kind of trends, like what is the new fashion this year in this summer, and we try to go with that, even though sometimes we don't look good in that. Mm-hmm. So is it that when I have a kind of a fashion brand that I always have to wear the same clothes?
Well, here's how I'll share my perspective on that. The reason I don't call myself a fashion stylist is that there is a fashion stylist as a category, and that's not me. It is someone who does study the trends, is up on the latest in fashion. And when I was a designer, that was a very big part of what I led with. I needed to know because from a retail store perspective, they're buying into trends every season. So everyone's designing into those trends. But in personal brand styling, it has nothing to do with fashion trends. It's really your personal style is an expression of you, the individual, in your personality and your values. And so how you choose, the choices that you make are revealing who you are. And when you reveal who you are in a visual, I call it the visual voice, when you're revealing yourself intentionally or unintentionally, you're stepping out into the world with information, and people pick up on that. They look at that visually, and they're looking for their match, right? As we meet that vibrational match. And so you either are their match and they'll come towards you, or you're not, and they move away and they move on. And so that's just the process of human connection. We are seeking something that's comfortable. It doesn't necessarily have to be familiar, but something that is for us. And so ultimately, when it's accurate, you're telling the right story about yourself, right? When it's off, then you're not sharing who you really are, and that shows up in the energy as well. So then you're attracting differently.
Yeah, and we say that it only takes seconds if people will figure out if we are a match or if we are not. So yeah. If I would show up in, I don't know, jogging clothes, people would say, okay, no, she is not my match. But if I'm super overstyled, perhaps even not as well. So it is really finding the inner voice and then expressing it into the clothing, into the styling, and yeah, jewelry or whatever we use.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just just so interesting, the choices that we make, because like if I showed up in a suit today, I'd be sharing a value of what I define as professionalism and, more about who I am. Or if I showed up in a off the shoulder, or maybe something, really low. No matter what I chose, I am sharing something about me, the colors, all of those details. And so I like to say, there is no hiding. There is no hiding, because we're revealing so much information. And to your point about how quickly it happens, there's probably the most common saying, it takes 7 seconds for people to make a first impression, right? And then it actually takes 11 times after that for them to, really land on saying, that's what I think, right? And believe it. So when you start with that impression, it's very difficult to change it. And there's a whole lot of research on that, confirmation bias, other things, which I won't get into, but that 7 seconds is the timing that's like the most common phrase. Then it goes to 3. There's another framework that says it's 3 seconds. But one of the things that really fascinated me, and all of this fascinates me, is that it's in a blink of an eye. It's really in the blink of an eye. And so in the blink of an eye, and we can see that so easily when we're scrolling online, it's literally, we'll go to the next and we won't stop the scroll until it feels compatible to our brain, right? And what I learned of the reason why that is it's part of our, the lower brain, that's designed to keep us safe for survival. And so, especially for women, but ultimately it's the blink of an eye, because we're looking for, is it safe? It's just a survival mechanism. And is it safe? Is it safe? Is that compatibility match safe to move in? And if based on our values and who we are, some people have different filters for what is safe, and it varies on the person, but that's why. So we are showing up and people are having conclusions about us in the blink of an eye. But if we pass the blink of an eye test, then we get 3 seconds after that, then we get 7 seconds. So there are those barriers that require us, to be able to get past for trust to start after 7 seconds. For people to lean into us. So they're not listening to anything yet. So I call it 3 phases. There's the visual, that's what this is, 7 seconds or less. The verbal, then after 7 seconds, they'll want to hear. And then the experiential. So they'll step in and want to know more and experience us at the 3rd level. And it all starts right here visually.
Yeah, and I think it's also like, if people will remember us, like when
Yes.
I'm in these meetings or events with hundreds of people, it's often difficult if everybody wears the same. Like if you're on a business meeting, everybody wears a black suit, okay, difficult to remember.
Yes.
But if there's someone who is outstanding, then you will. And I had a colleague who was called the lady in red. She always had like a red dress and red hair. So look for the red, there she is. Me, myself, I was also working in horse-assisted leadership training. So when I went on these events, I was in boots, jeans, a jacket, and a hat. So people could already see, okay, that is a lady with the horses. Very easy to remember, because I look totally different than the rest of the people. So how can we use this like to be recognized and remembered by creating our own brand style?
Oh, I love this question, because that's such a big part of my process. It is, and it's towards the end of the process after we've established, all the basic metrics that make up your style profile, unique to each person. And then towards the end of the process, we start talking about, how do you want to be remembered, and what are the choices of how you want to do it? You can do it through hair color, like the lady in the red hair. Your hair color, the platinum, could be something for you. Through accessories, like a pair of, I have a client who we branded her through glasses, and she loved these funky, cool, eccentric glasses. And she's a New Yorker, and she just had fun in that expression. So that branded her, and people would always tune in. What glasses will she be wearing today? UPS, brands with color. It's done in every sector of business, branding through a variety of ways to be memorable. And that's a very very strategic part of personal branding. It's choosing, like you could be branded for statement necklaces. So it's a choice and how you want to show up and what you want to be remembered for. And the visual is the highest level of retention for memory. And that's why it's the first step before the verbal and before the experience.
You said that, but this is kind of the last part of the process you are doing. So let us know a little bit about the whole process. So the beginning is having a conversation on telephone, like not seeing each other.
Yes.
How are we going from there? Let us know a little bit about how this process looks like to get an idea.
Well, there are a couple paths, but based on what you just said, there's also an in-person aspect of it. But the basic, the path that is most common is a virtual experience. And that way I'm able to serve people from all over the world because everyone, I mean, no matter where we live, like you and I'm in Los Angeles and you're in Madeira Island, and, we're halfway across the world, but we have the same desires, the same experiences that we were talking about right before we started. And so everyone wants the same thing, no matter where they are. And so we start on the phone to establish the brand of who you are, what do you stand for, and how you want to be remembered. Then we move into the colors of who you are that create that you could be signature through color. And so I have a test that creates a customized palette for each person, and you own your colors, and the colors are not seasonal. They are based on your personality and your values through this test. And then I score it and I give the output of the palette. There is your body, a very big part of the process. And the body piece is right in the middle. So we do the brand with the colors, then the body. And so how you feel about your body, so body image is critical, especially for women, in how you show up. And the kind of confidence you want to feel is creating that relationship of acceptance in your skin through the body, because it'll shape how you move and how you show up. And
can I interrupt you here? Because
sure.
Because I see that there are two perspectives. Like, one is having in mind, oh, I need to cover whatever because it doesn't look good, or I don't feel confident with my weight at the moment. And the other is, how can I express where I really feel confident, like, where I really want to be seen with. I think these are two different perspectives. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, that's huge. That's huge. So women and body, oh God, huge. So many women are, like you say, have a variety of ways of hiding. So there's a lot of secret shame around the body, and my expertise is with the body. And so healing those wounds, healing those old beliefs of what you can and can't show is part of this process. And it happens very quickly, by the way. And so people hide sometimes by wearing black. They hide by wearing things that are baggy, hiding different parts of their body. But the ability to understand that this is the body you're in for the rest of your life, and accepting it unconditionally, and learning through this process I've created, which is, it's about your bone structure, not your boobs and your butt. Those are the fleshy parts, right? They expand and they go in and out at different times of our life. And I've certainly experienced the ups and downs, my own body journey. But to be able to really show up fully in your skin at your highest as well as your lowest, that's a woman's greatest challenge without it changing you. And ultimately, I think the bottom line is, through all of that, it is the biggest lesson to learn. It's not you, it's the clothes. It's the clothes, and being able to find the silhouette match that flatters you. The clothes have to work for you. You don't have to work for the clothes. And so I think with many women, just that alone is priceless, because they can be free. We're not free if we're trapped inside our body and feeling all those negative feelings, because there's mean girl inside, right? Saying all these things. So that's a big, that work comes from the training and the expertise, but it comes from my heart. If there's one thing I could heal in the world, it would be for women to be able to accept their bodies unconditionally and be able to learn these skills to be free, and be able to continue to share all of who they are in the world, because those gifts are precious and someone's praying for you right now to show up and to find you. So it'll shut down a lot of women for their visibility or limit them. So it shows up in so many ways, but once you get the keys and unlock that, you're free.
And I see that, of course, in our society or our culture, there's a certain kind of body image promoted that is like, if you look like this, if you're skinny, then you are, and of course, as a woman, have nice boobs. Yeah, you are the perfect match, and no, you're attractive. Go into a different culture and you will see that women are very big, and this means the man has a lot of money, so he can feed this woman, and the woman has a lot of mass around, and so totally different idea of how a beautiful body looks like. Yes. And so I want to just make clear that the idea that we have in our culture at the moment, like seeing the supermodels being super skinny, it is how a woman looks like. We always have kind of a shape, like
it's fascinating, and it is the body. Those are some of the biggest and most frequent ways women trap themselves in making their life smaller, because there's so much out there for them, right? And so they're limiting themselves through not feeling good in their body. And so I'm so committed to that. And it's not exclusive to women. My male clients, they have their own set of issues around their body, but it's so much simpler, less layered and complex than a woman. But in this work, it unravels so quickly, and you're able to be free with just understanding. If I didn't do this work and my business was in a different sector, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know any of this. So I'm just glad that I do, and it feels like a blessing to be able to pay it forward and share it. And that's really one of the big reasons that moved me out of my corporate life into becoming an entrepreneur, because of my own body journey, where I went from a size 6 to 16 in a very short amount of time with a hormonal imbalance. And it changed my life in ways I had never known, living in a body that I was not familiar with. And the journey to heal those hormones and get back in balance and restore my body to health, once I ended up on the other side, I thought, I can't keep this to myself. I just can't. I must share this, because I know the healing and the work that I just went through and how I feel on the other side. And I'm talking about also at my top weight, when I was just in shame, but yet needing to show up every day and, be in big meetings, and here I am in the business of style. Back then I was a fashion designer, so it's like, oh my. And at that time in fashion, it was all like lycra spandex, so everything was this big. And so shopping was very challenging, but to be able to love myself at my top weight and learn the principles of dress for your shape, not your size, was the biggest transformation I ever had. And once I did that, once I learned that, which was basically everything I was doing with my clients, but I turned it to myself, changed my life. And the impetus for saying, okay, I have a voice, and now it's time to speak it on the behalf of women. I want to share and help women.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And thank you for sharing your own story as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so, you know, it's just been, it's a passion area for me. And not all my clients, you know, have the same issues. It's as individual as the person. Even women who show up in the world and they may appear that they have no issues around the body, there's always something. And I say, I'm here for all of it. And I embrace and love all of it. And there is nothing, when a woman is ready, she's ready for change, she changes her world. And when she's ready for that, we can make magic together. It's unbelievable when they're so powerful.
Yeah, so going into the next step of the process, what would happen next if we are already committed to our body and that we are beautiful and that we want to express our beauty? What is coming
Right,
next?
okay, that's right. We left off on body. That's a hot topic. Okay, so the next step is two parts, but it's where women have the greatest challenge and where I spend the most time, and that's in the implementation, the embodiment. And so the next step is in style. And in the style phase of our work together, we start with the closet and really assess where you are and what's in there, because the closet is basically in everyone's house, no matter how big your closet is, it's limited real estate, right? And so it has a finite amount of space of what you can put in it. And so we go through that and look at the alignment of what you have in there. So she's able to really, or he, a leader, is able to really, we go through a process where you're able to see for yourself what is in alignment and what is out of alignment. And by this point in the process, because it represents who you are as a brand, it's in your color palette and it flatters your shape, that becomes the assessment of, is it right for me and how does it make me feel? And is it the way I want to show up for my next level? So the decisions at that point are so easy. So I call that the release to receive. And so we're releasing anything that no longer serves you, because the clothes have to work for you. They're like your sales rep. You know, you put it on and it's like, that represents me. And but is it the way I want to be represented? And then after that process, and through that process, we're creating a strategic list of what becomes obvious that's missing. And so we never start shopping without a strategy of focused items, and we know what we're going for in your color palette, in your brand, in your style. And the outcome of the closet is now it's time to express the embodiment. So we put it all together. And then we bring in the new with the existing. Then it's about making outfits. So I share how to do that. How to accessorize is the last piece. For all the different ways that an entrepreneur shows up on camera, in person, for big stages, for Zoom, small cameras, and everything in between. And then we celebrate success.
I like the celebration part at the end. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I see that this is really a process that takes a little bit of time. Yeah, to first go inwards and then go outwards and see, yeah, what is there, what needs to be fit in, and what can go to the charity, and what is an absolute no-go. I think this will also be clear that this can't even come back into the closet anymore. And
no, and you know, the yeses and the nos are equally important. Being able to understand why you say yes and why you say no, that's the strategy of your style. In the middle is a maybe, and a maybe is a no. So we learn about, you know, we go through that process, and ultimately to be able to reach that point where I can go into my closet, it feels good and empowering in there versus stressful. I can get dressed for any occasion in a few minutes. I just want to decide what's the match for how I want to show up for that, you know, and then you just put it together head to toe and you're done. And it was actually enjoyable. And you're just excited that it's no longer a point of frustration that disrupts that incredible energy flow that you could have had. And now you have it, and you'll always have it, because this knowledge stays with you for the rest of your life. It's priceless forever, you know, for your lifespan. Once you have it, you don't unlearn it.
How does this, we already said it, like it is my own expression, how I show up, but how does this also support my business? Like,
yeah, thank you for saying that, because the work I do is for business professionals. You know, it is for leaders. It is specifically, the majority of my clients are CEOs, owners, or it's business owners of any industry, men and women. I say visionary global leaders. The other tier is they can be a corporate leader. Many corporate leaders have an entrepreneurial spirit. Most of them do. And so you can be at director level, C-suite, whatever it is, but ultimately for everyone, they're at the point where, or even people who are just starting and they're leaving corporate and they're moving into the entrepreneurial world, and they're in a transitional phase, but they want to shed the, you know, whatever the culture that defined that time of how they're embodying themselves. They want to show up as themselves, because now they're the brand versus representing someone else's brand. So those are the types of people that I serve. And as a business, as a brand, when you're representing you, even in corporate, you're representing you and the brand. So it's a dual representation. This is when it's important more now than ever because of social media. People want to know who's the face, what are your values? And so being able to be accurate, basically so many of the things I've touched on, being able to be accurate about showing up for who you really are so that your audience can make an informed choice. Being able to be consistent and be the same person the way you show up time and time again, different types of looks, but in the same lane of your style. That's a business strategy. That's a very intentional, that is a part of any business, whether you're in the business of show business, whether you're in the business, you know, and you're a musician, you're showing up in your brand style, or you're a business leader. That is your responsibility to show who you are so that people can choose you. They can choose your business as the problem solver with the solution that they're seeking. And I'd say one of the biggest parts of the work I do for leaders is we're creating looks that are so authentically you that once you feel in your skin and you're like, oh my God, this is me, what that does to your confidence, it is, you just show up ready, and you're in your greatness at that point. And I was just talking about that yesterday. I said I was watching a group of people flock around someone, a well-known person, and I was saying, greatness has a frequency to it, and people want proximity to greatness. They want to get close to it. They want to touch it. It's why people want the front rows of, events. They want to see, and it fascinates us. And so in our own entrepreneurial experience in our world, when we're aligned and we feel energetically right within ourselves, we're able to unleash that greatness. And that's what the confidence and attraction really is all about. It starts with us.
And even if you sell products, it is still you, the business owner, who will show up. And what I see at the moment, especially with, after the pandemic, everybody was going online, and social media was kind of, becoming overwhelming. And people don't have the time to, look into every kind of post they get, but it's like what we said, no, like people are scrolling through, and then it's like, wow, there's something that is catching them.
Yes. And, you remind me of something that I learned in my corporate life. My mentor, phenomenal person. I learned so much during my time with him, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my career. But I remember one time he told me something that was life-changing. He said, Sybil, you have an internal audience as a leader. You have an internal audience too. And I thought, oh my God, yes, because we're not just building trust as entrepreneurs, yes, but we have a team. Many of us, not all of us, some, a lot of us have VAs, and we're all VAs all over the world. But feeling good is something we seek daily, right? And so how we're able to be present and communicate when we feel good, we show up differently. And ultimately, all of this is about building trust. That's really, I forgot about that. That is the secret to all of this as a business person, and even outside of business, but specifically in business. We are in business as problem solvers, but we can't solve any problem if we don't have trust from the person that is seeking the solution. So the more we can show up, consistency is one really phenomenal way to build trust, because people feel they know you when you're showing up consistently. And then, to feel like, I know you, okay, I like you, now I trust you. So there is no transaction without trust. It can't go forward. And the interesting part of that for me is that it works in business just like in love. There's no I do without trust. And I work for many people who are coaches, or there was an online dating service, and I was the in-house stylist. And so a lot of these principles I shared for dating, for helping people get ready and present themselves, because they were wondering, why do I keep attracting the same man? Or why do I keep attracting, or I'm not attracting anyone? Well, all of those things, it's ultimately how you feel in your skin, and that's going to affect how you show up. And if you show up one way, if I show up all the time super, in suits and pearls versus the way I am now versus another way, I'm going to attract one set of, let's say if I'm dating, and for me, if I were seeking companionship, I would attract a person at one level versus another level of their energy. So it's about how we show up. And that's just human, whether it's business or dating. We find our energetic match. And so it starts with us, how we feel, how we show up, and the choices we make that make a statement about who we really are. So we want that to be accurate Otherwise, we're going to attract someone, and then it doesn't lead to anything that will be a deepening of that relationship, because ultimately you want to attract based on shared values and other things. But so that's yet one of the other secrets of styling.
Yeah, I love that. Understanding that when you show up in a certain way and a certain style, and of course certain places, you will attract different people. And if you go out and always attract the wrong ones, either in relationship or companions or in business, something is out of line. And yeah, it's time to get to check what is it. And it could be that it is about your appearance, it's about your energy and what you're sending out as a visual, but also, of course, about your voice, what you're speaking, what your brand is. Could be many things. Yeah.
Yes. And another piece of that, there's so many layers. Another layer is also, and I do this as part of the brand phase of the work, is that, the economy of your brand. Where are you? Are you the low price leader, or are you exclusive and invitation only, and just that level? And so I always say that realtors, that business sector, they got it right. So if you're a realtor and you're selling distressed properties, the lowest pricing, in the market, or if you're selling, at the top tier of, in Los Angeles, it's it's multi-millions of dollars, whatever that is, you're going to dress the part and be in alignment for that. And if you're selling distressed properties and you show up in a Chanel suit, designer clothing, driving, a fancy car, you're out of alignment with your buyers, but also with what you're representing in your message. And the same, true of someone if you're shopping, at the discount store, but you want to sell to, the highest tiers of economics, then you're not going to attract, because you're out of frequency, out of alignment with the message. And so it's energetic you, but it's also your message and getting all those pieces aligned.
Yeah. I'm curious now, what have been like the changes or transformation for your clients, like coming into your world and then going through the process, and what was the outcome? Like what has happened with their business and with themselves when they have been through your process?
Oh my goodness. There's so many. The latest one, and this one has happened throughout the years, but partners know this. Husbands, wives, something has changed. My partner is happier, initiating closeness with me, coming to bed without the t-shirt. Wanting to touch more, just overall happier. And so one of the greatest, I'd say, one of the greatest compliments to my work is when a client wants to bring a spouse in, but the spouse is getting curious and wants to be a part of this and feel that too. So it helps marriages. It helps marriages. So a happier home is a wonderful place for business to thrive. And on the business side of it, oh my, just more initiating. I think initiating is the theme with this. Feeling powerful, the level of confidence that you get, it's feeling good in your body, and you feel unstoppable because you're free. And then attracting more opportunity. That's everyone. They'll say, I'm attracting, and some of them will say, I'm attracting more of my ideal clients because of how I'm showing up. I had one woman say that she went to a conference and her coach was there and was like, oh my God, you're so different. but it was not that she visually looked that much different, but she was put together, and it's the way she carried herself. And let me be clear that I'm working with everyone who's at a high level of success already. And no matter where you are, you have a vision for what's next. And, you know, greatness is inside of everyone, and it doesn't have a cap, a ceiling on it. There's always a deepening and an expansion of our best selves, but at the same time accepting where we are and where we've arrived, and then there's more. And that's who I'm working with, incredible leaders who want to make the world a better place. They have a contribution to make, and whether it's their world or the world. And when they feel this, they feel differently, and they know how to do it. Even when they know how to do it, they still want me to help them along the way. Just sometimes it'll just be an outsourcing of that they just are, their schedules are busy. Sybil, can you help me? I have a conference. I'm going on stage. I need, 4 outfits for 4 different days or whatever it is. So but it's not that they don't know how to do it. So yeah, there are so many benefits that they're experiencing, and their revenue just shifts, and it's incredible. I love the stories, and also the same that have spilled over when I work with dating coaches, because those are all high-powered leaders, so they get both. They get the double dip. They're attracting incredible opportunities in the business and on the romance. So it's so fun to see that transformation, and it happens so quickly. That's the other part. It doesn't take long. It's not about that it has to take long. It just has to you have to step in and be ready for it. And I always say, I'm here for anyone who's ready. And there is a timeline. I just had a call yesterday with a leader who, she said, I'm ready. I just lost both my parents in the last year and a half, and I'm coming out of a season of just my grieving, and I'm grateful for all the lessons out of that, and for the parents I had, and now it's my turn and my time, and I'm ready. But a year and a half ago, she wasn't, and I respect everyone's own time. That's why I don't step into someone's world. They step into mine when they're ready.
And then when they step into your world, you help them and bring them into their magnificence. As you do it, like creating this in the outer world, like really letting them show up in their magnificence. I'm doing this in the inner world as well, like really understanding who are they in their genius zone, so that they can shine as brightly as they can. So it's so amazing.
Isn't it? And I know we're like minds with this. Don't you feel honored to be able to work in your gift and serve the people, the leaders that you're working with? Because we're, all of us as leaders, we're helping to create transformation and change lives and help people achieve their dream, whatever that is. So it's really it's a privilege.
Yeah.
To do this. Yeah.
And I can imagine that my audience is now interested in how they can contact you. And I know that there is a course coming up. So please share about that.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that, because there is a course that I did this course about, I think, 7 years ago. It was incredible. It's basically everything I do in private, but as a group format. And talk about timing. It's time, bringing it back. I miss it. And over these last years, there were other areas that I went into deeper. I was serving corporate accounts, working in groups in a different way, deepening of my private work, and other areas that I was exploring with my business, all related. Now it's time for my course. I have dusted it off, updated parts of it, And for fall of 2023, I'll be releasing it, and I cannot wait. I was just thinking yesterday, and I wrote a journal entry. I can't wait to share this class with the world. And it's going to be comprehensive, and it'll be called Style Your Greatness. And I am looking forward to that. And so for anyone who wants to contact me, if they're interested in an early release, this special, or just want to learn more about it, you can contact me, Sybil at thestyleconcierge.com. And I'm also on Facebook. Hi, Sybil Henry. So those are a couple ways to reach me.
Okay, I will put the links in the show notes so that it is easy for people to reach out to you and send you a message or give you a call, whatever it is, and contact you. So please look in the show notes. Last but not least, is there anything that you would like to share that I didn't ask you?
Let's see. Wow, you've covered so much. I'd say the only thing, if there was something to share, it's so your question is there something that I want to share that you haven't asked? I'd say simply that this work is such a, I think, a beautiful experience, and it's a gift to yourself. It really is of a deepening of who you already are. And I want to make it clear that this work, I'm not seeking to create a style like mine for someone else or change you. It is, I think, the biggest misconception that I hear is like, oh, I'm gonna have to get rid of all my clothes, and no, we are working on, I call it mining for gold. It's who you are already. We're simply deepening and expanding all of the best parts of who you are so that people can see that and make a better, more informed choice about stepping into you, and what that will do for you personally and professionally is the journey of a lifetime. You'll have it forever. And so it is just becoming more you. It's a super self-loving process.
Yeah, wow, what a great ending word. Thank you so much for being my guest on this show today. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me here. I enjoy our time together. Always lights me up. Thank you so much. I love this, that you're doing this for the world.
Hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.